So today, we're going to do something quite controversial. I'm not really sure if taking a steering pedestal out of a boat is something people do. Generally, people go from tillers to steering pedestals, but not many people go from steering pedestals back to tillers, which is exactly what we're going to do today. So beyond stoked, let's get into it because we've got to take these bolts out, rip this thing out. Come along, we'll get it all done.
Did it? Whoa. Did it just break? Did it? Whoa. Did it just break?
I don't know. Are you filming?
Yeah.
I don't know if something just broke, but something has broken in the past. This steering wheel has not been the most reliable in our experience. You might remember a few years ago that our steering cables broke. Emergency tiller on because we're now in an emergency while we were sailing down the Strait of Georgia, and ever since then we've always been nervous whenever we've been sailing downwind. There's a little bit more pressure on the rudder and we've always been concerned that those cable clamps would come undone again. But worry no more, we say, because that is going to be a problem of the past. We are simplifying, we are changing things up, we are getting rid of this incredibly complicated yet simple steering mechanism, and we're going back to a good old-fashioned joystick where you pull it one way and the boat goes the other way, you push it back and the boat heads the other way. It's not confusing at all because we're going to have it worked out and it's going to be reliable, it's going to be awesome, and we're going to have a great time sailing with it because we won't fear that our steering cables are going to break anymore. The plan is to remove the bolts from the base of the steering pedestal. It comes out pretty easy. You disconnect the cables from the quadrant, just a couple of bolts, really simple. Unscrew the pedestal base, the whole thing just pulls out, take all the instruments off and call them good because we're going to reuse them. Unbolt the base of the pedestal, pull it out, and then we're going to gloss over the cockpit. We've already got a tiller, we've got the tiller bracket, we're just going to bolt that back on, and we're very excited because we've ordered a new tiller pilot, which are much cheaper than an autopilot for a helm. Go figure. Just one of the fun facts, you really don't actually need the leverage of a wheel on a Catalina 30. You know, they're a fairly light boat. They're 6.5 tons displacement, and a tiller pilot can actually handle that quite well, and you can hold it quite easily. Even when we were steering with the emergency tiller that time, even the short, stocky little baseball bat of a tiller could hold the boat quite comfortably, so a nice 4-foot tiller will do it absolutely beautiful. And I think we're quite excited to get our cockpit space back.
There's so much more room for activity.
This thing just takes up so much room, and it's unnecessary for the size of our boat.
It's also really cold on your hands.
It is generally very cold on the hands, especially in the off season, but a tiller will be nice and warm, especially when it's being driven by a tiller pilot and not by my little fingers. In our first season of sailing on our boat, just when we were first learning how to sail, we had the unfortunate experience of having our steering cables break, but in all honesty, they didn't really break. The cables were already severed and they had been reattached using these U-clamps. Generally speaking, you shouldn't have any U-clamps in your steering cables because they can come undone, and your steering cable should be one continuous piece from the quadrant all the way up through the helm and then back to the other end of the quadrant, so that as you steer, it moves the cable and the rudder shift. Our U-bolts came undone. Shouldn't have U-bolts because we're always constantly concerned that these U-bolts are going to come undone, and we're just continuously worried that at any point we could lose our steering. The alternative would be to replace the cable altogether, which honestly is a fairly straightforward job as well. We just feel that the pros of removing the wheel really outweigh the cons. We're going to get more cockpit space. Auto tiller is way cheaper. It's just going to be simpler, more reliable, more robust, less points of failure. To not have to worry about it. It'll relieve our anxiety, which is really sweet. So all in all, I think it's win-win-win. Would you mind passing me the hammer? Ooh, rust.
Hey.
Wow.
That's it, folks.
Feels liberating. Makes me kind of feel like the gentleman who pulled the sword from the stone, steering pedestal from the cockpit.
You've been wanting to take this out for so long.
Let's take a look inside it.
Oh, it's rusty.
This was the other big concern, is that this is a steel plate.
Wow, what are we looking at here?
These are the pulleys that the cables run over, and they're mounted onto a steel bracket. But obviously, after years of salt water ingress, this steel bracket has been rusting. Who really knows how long that had left in it? You're meant to be able to adjust the pulleys and everything.
I don't think you could move them on that track very easily now.
Still probably serviceable. You could still probably replace this, clean it all up and put it back together. But that is no longer our problem because we're going for a tiller. And tillers don't rust because they're made from wood. They rot.
Bye.
See you never.
I usually say see you never, but
Yeah, we might put it back in.
we'll see.
There you go. And now, this is how spacious your cockpit will always feel.
You can do yoga, you can dance, host people. We can now we can actually walk around. That's a considerable amount of space. I'm really surprised at how small this hole is. It's really not that intimidating of a job. Yet. That's just gooping out.
Definitely some moisture in there.
Wow, eh?
I don't know how far it goes. But reason number 20 as to why this is a great idea. All the plywood in the cockpit is wet from having moisture leak into it, and it will go soft. So now we'll be able to reinforce the whole thing, cut all of that plywood out, and everything will just be much better, more stronger, more awesome, more secure, and just better, more good.
It's not good, eh?
Seems to be mostly over there. Oh God, it's uncomfortable.
This is like looking into the wishing well.
Yeah.
Can I make 3 wishes?
Throw a penny at me. So we've removed the bottom layer of the fiberglass sandwich. So now we can see what is going on with the wood here. Over on this corner, the wood is damp. Well, it's wet, but the wood is still wood. But over on this corner over here, there is no wood, and it is all dripping wet and soggy. So I think we might cut a little bit more fiberglass away over on this side and take it back a bit further. And I think we'll just cut this plywood out, but it seems to be fairly well laminated to the glass still. So we'll probably just try to dry it out over there. But yeah, not good. Not good at all. This is why you keep your steering column sealed. Or you just take it out altogether because nobody wants a rotten cockpit. Ew.
Action.
Well, this is a blast from the past. Check that out. Anyway, we're over here now. We have templated the area of the cockpit that we're going to replace. I've gone in there with the saw and I've removed all the rotten subfloor, and I've basically just drawn out the shape of the plywood that's going to replace it, which we have right here. I've got a nice bit of plywood that's been laying around, made from good wood back in the day. I'm just going to trace out my template, cut it out with the jigsaw, and then we'll head back down the boat and get the glass ready to re-laminate the cockpit floor.
You're taking safety very seriously these days.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of comments lately regarding my safety while I work, so I've invested. I'm now ultra safe, and all of my sensors are protected against basically everything at this point. I'm more or less indestructible, and this isn't even plugged in. All right, cue loopy rock music for renovation soaring montage. Been a few days. We've had the cockpit taped up, so it's kept everything dry. It's kept the rain out, which has been great. We've had a heater and a dehumidifier running underneath to dry it all out as much as possible.
How's it feeling?
It feels dry. I mean, there's a little bit of moisture underneath the tape, but that's okay because it's really the wood underneath which we're concerned about being dry, not the glass on top. I had a look down there earlier today when I was templating out the cockpit.
How's it looking?
It's looking nice and dry, very dry, which is awesome. And I'm really hoping that this irregular shaped piece of plywood that I cut actually fits. So this is the moment of truth. Let's see how I did. Not exactly perfect. Second time's the charm, and it looks like it fits this time, so awesome. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna use some foam and some tape and some plastic, and we're just gonna make a little cover over this to stop any moisture getting into it as the glass sets, because we don't want the glass to push up and then touch the tape and then stick the tape permanently to the cockpit floor. So that's what we're gonna do real quick, get it all taped up before it rains, and then we can go down and glass it. We've cut out some chopped strand mat, which is kind of the strongest type of fiberglass because all the strands run all different ways and it reinforces stuff really, really well. I've cut out 2 different layers. We're gonna wet out the top of the plywood. We'll put 1 layer on, wet it out, put the second layer on, wet it out. We're gonna sandwich it up into our hole in the cockpit, and we're gonna use a bottle jack underneath to apply nice even pressure, hold it all up there nice and tight while the epoxy sets up, and hopefully that'll give us some really good adhesion between the glass mat, the glass cockpit floor, and then also the plywood, which is going to reinforce everything.
Dwell in the sand like a fish on land. Like a fish on land.
Generally you'd want to do this with a roller, but I can't seem to find a roller, so I'm not doing it with a roller.
Yeah, I guess part of the problem with doing projects in these remote places is you don't always have the tools available that you would like to use. There is no marine store on this island, so.
Well, it makes things a little bit more challenging, but that's okay. Whatever, we'll get there. We might just end up using more epoxy than someone else might, but that's fine, it is what it is. I'm gonna leave the glass mat a little bit oversized so it wraps around the edge of the plywood and bonds like on all 5 sides, so the top side and then all the 4 corners, and that's basically the plan. We'll then put the heater under it, get it nice and warm, and let it cook up for another day or 2, and hopefully that is the end of our problem of having a wet and soggy cockpit solved.
So with our pedestal out of the boat, we have to come up with an alternative location to mount all of our instruments, like our depth sounder, our compass, and all of that. These instruments haven't been working for years. We disconnected them, and so we're sort of thinking that we'll take these instruments out and reuse the holes in order to put the new instruments in. The other thing that we need to do today is install our new autopilot. So that came in the mail a couple days ago, which is super exciting. Today is going to be sort of an instrument day on the boat, just getting ourselves set up so that we can navigate Uintah safely. Okay, so first things first, we need to remove these old instruments and clear this space up.
I think it's bedded in with something that's pretty solid. So we're just trying to crack the seal around it, get some of the bedding material loose, and that way we can push the instrument out. There we are, no more knot meter. You're going so slow it doesn't really matter how fast you're going. Does it? Because it's slow. Instrument 2, goodbye Data Marine. Well, that came out easier than we expected. The core, nice and dry as well, so that sealant was indeed doing its job. So we've got our template on our hole now, so we just got to trim back to the outline because the compass is bigger than the hole.
Let's get cutting.
Let's get cutting. Compass is now installed.
So cool, it's like a fish tank. I can't really see out, but it definitely brings the light in. That's kind of neat.
Cool. It's sunny again today, which is awesome because we can finish glassing up the cockpit and we can also glass over the instrument hole that we cut yesterday. We're going to use some of that old fiberglass that we got from those battery boxes and recycle it again to fill the hole. Otherwise, I'm going to have to put in layers and layers of glass and use tons of epoxy, which, you know, it isn't the greatest. It can get quite expensive when you use tons of epoxy for these jobs. So the plan is to trace around the hole. We're going to use it as a template to cut a glass sheet, and then we're going to use a little bit of epoxy to glue that glass sheet in, and then we'll fill in the surrounding void. And I think that will be the best way to go. So let's get stuck into it. It's a 4-inch hole, and we only used 1 ounce of epoxy to repair the hole, which I think is like a really bargain amount of epoxy to fix such a large hole with. And that's awesome because it gets to reuse this bit of glass that otherwise would have ended up as landfill somewhere. And it even has gel coat on the top so that we can just buff it right back in and you'll only see the little ring line, which I think is freaking sweet. But the likelihood is we're just gonna paint it, so whatever. Easy as mustard. I don't know, who says that? That's not even... So we're going to install the Raymarine tiller pilot on our tiller here, which is going to be sweet because we haven't had an autopilot, and now we can do other activities like film each other, cook food, hang out, read books, all while sailing the boat at the same time, because up until now we always had to have a hand at the helm. So super excited to get this thing installed. Long story short, basically it attaches to here and it attaches to here, and it has a pneumatic rod which turns the tiller. So the first thing we have to do is install this tiller pin right here up on the top of the tiller, and then we can use it as our reference point to work out where we need to mount the base. We have reinforced this area of the cockpit with a nice big piece of plywood behind it, which we're going to bolt through to. The thing's solid glass and it's got a 1/2-inch big panel of plywood secured in behind it with epoxy. So we're going to use that as our mounting base for the tiller pilot. So we're going to put a little hole, mount in the pin, and then we can work out where the bracket is going to go. Okay, so now that we have the pin located and drilled into the tiller, we can take our tiller pilot, connect it to the pin, and now we can use it as a landmark to work out where exactly our bracket needs to be. So with the autopilot plugged in, we've got power run to it, so we should be able to turn the power on and power up the autopilot. So let's see if it works.
Yay!
Woo! All right. Autopilot turned on. So we've cut our tiller bracket down. Turns out it is completely solid, which is sick. So we're just going to screw it into the base. This is the cap, and you're meant to epoxy it onto the top, but I think we're going to line everything up and make sure that it works first before we commit to epoxying this on. So without further ado, let's check it out.
Whoa!
Cool. That's pretty skookum.
The most steering you're going to be doing.
I know. It's going to be great. Cold ones.
You can read those books you always wanted to read.
I know. Won't that be nice? I'll just probably be keeping an eye out for logs.
Yeah, I think we'll still have our eyes on the road, but...
Yeah. But that's awesome. Hooray for auto tiller. Sweet. Okay. Yeah, tie it.
I don't think we've actually both been in the companionway like this before.
This is a new perspective of vlogging.
This is probably the most awkward vlogging position we've ever been in at all.
Oh.
Actually, the tripod is exactly where the steering pedestal would normally be and would make this really challenging for us.
Yeah, it actually, getting rid of the steering makes this whole viewpoint of us talking in the companionway even possible, and that's amazing, and we're really stoked to have like extended our living space by another like 2 feet.
But we wanted to show you our finished nav station.
Yeah, check it out. There's the depth sounder and the compass on this side, and over here we have our navionics as well as our charger to power the iPad, as well as our new GPS puck, which is gonna, you know, give us an accurate GPS signal, which is sick.
Hopefully we can work out how to use this tiller. We were able to work out how to do it in an actual emergency, so I think we'll be able to do it just sort of on a calm, chill day.
We also have this, which is sick. It's all plugged in and powered up. It obviously doesn't work in the cockpit companionway like this. It works down there on the tiller, but this is all set up, and that's really exciting because it means we can basically do this while sailing. We can be hanging out here in the companionway chatting to you while the boat just steers itself, which I think is pretty sick.
We were actually trying to remember what this video is even about, because in real time we are way further ahead in projects and we did this like ages ago, but we wanted to get this video out for you because we haven't released a video in a long time. We are struggling to get all of our projects done so that we can get off the dock and get going. So yeah, regular content, I guess, will be consistently inconsistent for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, or just more consistently spaced out like it has been in the last month.
In the next few days, we're hoping to do a shakedown cruise. We'll test out all the systems, we'll test out the steering, we'll make sure everything is working, and then we're off.
And then onwards to Alaska and further north.
Alaska!
Yes, Alaska!
Yeah!
Oh.
So excited. We are hoping, fingers crossed, to get off this dock in about 4 days?
Yeah,
How many
maybe 6 days.
What's today? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
I don't know. It doesn't matter because we're getting off the dock real soon. I just got to make a quick little border dash down to the Washington to go get a visa for Alaska. So that's a little bit of a turnaround. A couple of little things of last minute shopping to do. We're going to buy a new alternator, which is going to be really fun. Wow, there's a raven. That's neat. But yeah, we're going to do a quick turnaround down island, rip back up the Broughtons, provision the boat, and then get off the dock in the next 5 or 6 days.
Pretty exciting stuff.
Woo!
Got a few project videos for you guys in the next couple of weeks. Maybe not too many, because honestly, as things are progressing here, we don't really have time to film everything. So a couple more of those, and then we're off.
Yep.
We're off and adventuring, and we're taking you guys with us. So
We
so excited for that.
Yes.
Without further ado, you know what time it is,
It's
folks. It's knock-off time.
Hey, wow, frothy. Cheers, bub.
Nice.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Oh, that is damn cold.
That's really nice.
Very refreshing.
Where were we chilling this?
I don't know.
Oh, I think we bought it from the store.
Oh, that's right. It was chilled by the government.
There are stores here.
There are. It's very neat.
That's it.
I think that wrapped it up pretty good.
So thanks for watching, folks. Give this one a thumbs up and write us a note in the comments, and we'll see you when we see you next.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching. Cheers.
Thanks for watching. Cheerio.